Well, it's been a full day. A very full day. I spent the morning and afternoon and even most of the evening repairing a chicken tractor. My girls are so excited to have chickens. I can't even describe it to you. You know, chickens are the gateway to all conspiracies. Seriously, something to consider. Where do your eggs come from? Then it might make you open this whole other paradigm that you've never even moderately considered. About, where does the rest of my food come from? What could I do to potentially even control what goes into my body? Perhaps there's a way that I could choose the best. You know, because there's most assuredly a distinction between a chicken raised on pasture, grass, and one raised on nightmares. Consider it. Factory farm chickens are like public school children. Different creatures entirely. Not even comparable to the ones raised on pasture. Something to consider. Feed your children pasture-raised eggs. Feed the elderly pasture-raised eggs. And Baja seagold salt. Salt from the Red Sea. Consider it. Significant changes and drastic differences in cognitive capacities. Something for you all to look into, for what it's worth. Anyways, now tonight, the evening has come upon me, which means it's time to plant trees. I've got my bronze shovel, courtesy of PKS Tools. I don't know them. They don't know me. I just know I want to have biblical, crazy, savage bronze tools because they impart the copper nutrients that the soil needs just like I do. You're deficient in copper and magnesium, y'all. So are our soils. The earth is depressed, horribly oppressed, which is why it fields look like this. Thankfully, I'm working with something that's not been tilled, farmed over abundantly. But still, when I turn the soil upside down, this is what I see. I've got about 3.5 inches on this field right here where I'm standing. This field's got about 3.5 inches of organic matter, which is fantastic compared to some of the other spots that I've been laboring on. And you know what the single most distinct change between this field and the one down there? Animals. Poop and pee. You betcha. One of the major distinctions that an animal does when it comes onto a pasture like this is that it tugs on the grass. It tugs on, and I'm not just talking about like grass. I'm talking about like plantain. You know what I'm saying? Vanilla grass. Like long broadleaf plantain, skinny leaf plantain, dandelions. These dandelions are here. These are what's called like an indicator species. Dandelions are something that are just like trying to tell you something about what's going on underneath the soil that you don't know about because you're blind and ignorant and deaf and dumb. It's okay. Almost all of us are. I'm in like the toddler phase of soil microbiology and understanding nature. Look at this vanilla grass though, it's delicious. See this thing right here? This guy. I'm just starting to learn the grasses. That's buttercup down there. This is what you see in endless abundance in a lot of the pastures around here because people overgraze, right? They put too many animals on a space that's not ready to hold them. But vanilla grass is delicious. It tastes sincerely like vanilla. My children love it. Abraham, Big Thunder, Abraham, he loves it too. He'll just sit there chewing on it. It's delicious. Anyways, wow. It's significantly close to Madagascar vanilla. It's just lovely. But the dandelions are here telling me that there's some serious problems with overcompaction in my soil and they need to aerate that space. They need to introduce a form of deep penetration into the soil so that water can absorb more readily and that we can make it more of a spongy kind of material. It's really important stuff. Don't target the dandelions. You know why Monsanto did so? Because they know they're from the devil. And anything that's there to work out their salvation with fear and trembling, they don't want you. They don't want you thinking about your salvation. They don't want you thinking about your salvation either. They want you to just go ahead and apply the Band-Aid and move on. But I'm trying to work the opposite approach. I'm trying to work on the longevity approach, which is why I'm planting trees. Right here, we have a fruit tree. Next to it is going to go I don't know. I really want to put chestnuts right here. You know, I'm trying to imitate that stuff back there. You see that distinction zone? That's the edge. I'm always talking to you guys about these edges in space. That's the distinct edge right there. What I got to pay attention to is what shows up in that edge space. We have the dominant trees right over here. You can see the bright green stuff over there. That's maple, and that is tulip poplar and eastern white pine. Also, we have red oaks. Those seem to be the dominant species over here. So what I'm trying to find is the most human-oriented, mankind-oriented food species that imitate those things. Korean pine is one of those pine trees that produces incredibly delicious large pine cones with large pine nuts, but they take a long time to get there. Same thing with chestnuts. They take a long time to kind of get there. You know, if it's 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, before they really start to bear it out. Red oaks, similarly. But I'm trying to imitate that stuff. So I'm going to put my keystone species a little closer to that way, because that's where the actual most sunlight is. And it's the space that I'm not going to go to quite as often because it's going to take longer to get there. But I'm trying to put the ones that are a little more TLC oriented a little bit closer to me. I'm just trying to keep them close, you know. But all along here, I'm going to replace this pasture unutilized space. And I'm going to try to put in these little groves, you know, these tiny little plant guilds that imitate what I see back there, because I want it to be productive here. I want to be able to have food in abundance, even if it's not me that gets to enjoy it. I just want to leave the world with this wonderful blessing, because you know what? My children are going to have to grow up in a world where artificial intelligence and general the onslaught of lies and suppression of the truth will be at its highest in a very long time. And I want to provide them a place of authenticity where they can come and learn, even if there's no one here to tell them the lessons. They can study and learn for themselves. And that's literally what I feel like the Father has done with his creation. He's given us the instructors. They're just quiet. Here, like all these different symphony of evening birds, I could take some time in my life and study each of them individually to learn an incredible amount of information about what they have learned, what they tell, what they communicate. Like today, my children and I were sitting over here while we were working on the chicken coop, and all of a sudden there was this crazy cacophony of bird noises from behind us. Unusual noises. A woodpecker was going off, but then there was these like two other birds like sounding the alarm. We're like, what's going on? We didn't know. But we knew with a surety they were trying to communicate to each other something was amiss. The next thing we hear is this mad noise coming through the understory, right? Like that thick rhododendron space. We didn't know what it was, but a critter was moving through it. Turns out it was a big orange tomcat, right? So they were sounding the alarm and they're like, it's a death is on the way. Death is on the way. Turns out it was. But there's a lot of sounds that come out of these birds that are trying to communicate stuff that we're just ignorant, we're deaf and dumb and blind to, right? But the more we assuredly learn from them, this is information that's telling us part of the story, the tiny story about this incredible narrator, the great I am, Yahuwah Elohim Sebaoth. He's got these incredible stories that are written in his creation that they just require us to do some diligence, some learning, some hard, disciplined time to learn that lesson. But tonight, I'm trying to utilize that 18 to 20 hours of the day to put in something that is long-lasting, that will outlive me. Because you know what? Fundamentally, at the end of the day, I'm not the big guy out there in the permaculture world or the regenerative agriculture world or the ministry world. But you know what I'm doing? I'm just going to try to diligently put my head to the ground and work by the sweat of my face to eat bread and leave the landscapes, wherever it is I go, better than when I found them. Because fundamentally, I don't want to be a miner that's extracting the resources from the earth. I want to be the person that cultivates the earth to bring forth more abundance. Because right now, my focus is an abundance of diversity. I'm trying to incorporate into the landscape so many of the foods that used to be here in prevalence, in abundance. I'm trying to bring those back, and then I want to observe what wants to be here, what's going to be successful here. And into those areas, I'm going to add more resources. I'm going to propagate those. I'm going to take what I find here and I'm going to replicate it. And the stuff that struggles here, I'm going to weed out, right? That's stewardship. That's the principles of guardianship. About when Adam was placed in the garden, he's like, listen, he didn't tell him to till the soil. He told him to watch over it and faithfully tend to it, to manage it. That's what we're supposed to do here. when we deviate from that and we kind of gear back towards an annual-based crop mindset, when we go back to like quick returns, we miss sight of the long-term investment of planting something that I might not reap the harvest of, but my children or even my grandchildren or great-grandchildren, they get to be the predominant benefactors of it. Now that's a generational perspective, and that's what we need to incorporate and take back in order to be able to perceive the good labor that's there for us to do. Anyways, these are some of my thoughts from the field, you guys. Go get yourself a bronze tool. Go get to work. Plant some trees. They don't have to be these kind of grafted trees, you guys. Take the seeds that you get out of your stinking apple and go put them in the ground. That's all it takes. Take the seeds, put them in the ground. Move on. Pray. Move on. Keep doing that. That's all we got to do, you guys. And you know, it will make a significant difference. You may not see the results of it, but you know what? Assuredly, Yahuwah does. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon.